What's up guys, Gabriel Varga here. Today for you, I have a breakdown of my training sessions in Thailand. I actually have them all written out. Now, why do I have this written out? Well, in 2008 when I went to Thailand, I was not big into technology. I didn't have a computer. What I did have was this little notebook. And as I went from gym to gym, I took notes of my training and I also wrote down exactly what the training sessions that we normally did were. Now, I was at 4 gyms when I was in Thailand: Simbi, Eminent Air, Fairtex, and Por Pramuk. Now, of course, every gym has their own training routine, but what's always interesting is how different those routines are from gym to gym. So we're going to jump in, we're going to break down what exactly we were doing, what Buakaw was doing when I was at his gym. So stick around guys, we're going to do some reminiscing and have some fun together. All right, guys, this little book was my lifesaver, when I was over there. It has all my notes, the contacts that I needed over there. I kept track of all the things that I was buying, bringing back for people, because I came back with a massive bag of gear, and I couldn't remember exactly what was for who. Like, we're talking close to $1,000 worth of gifts for people. And then when things got really desperate at Por Promook, when I was there and I had nothing to do, I started ripping out pieces of paper. This is not a joke. This is 100% serious. Everything I'm telling you guys today is 100% truth. You might not know me. You might not know that yet about me, but I very rarely exaggerate. I do not lie. When I was in Por Pramuk, I got so desperate to do things, I started ripping pages out and cutting little tiny pieces of paper to make my own playing cards. Because I didn't have playing cards, I didn't have a book, I didn't have a computer, I didn't have a DVD player, there was nothing to do there. So obviously I got really desperate. When you start making your own playing cards and you're playing solitaire with little cards that are about that big, things are getting pretty desperate. Now I'm going to be honest with you guys, let you know how much of a fighter gym a lot of these ones were. Simbi gym, not so much of a gym to go to if you want to be there and you really want to dedicate yourself hard and learn a whole lot. It was more about tourists. Now, because of that, because it wasn't really a fighter gym, the routine at Simbi was fairly easy. The running in the morning was optional. Nobody was there getting you up. Nobody was like, you got to get out and do this. Most of the people didn't do it. I was one of the few who actually went and did some running. But when you got back, I think it was about 6 a.m. start, we would start with skipping, 3 3-minute rounds. After that, we would go to shadow boxing, 3 3-minute rounds. In between waiting for your time on the pads, you would do bag work. The bag work was pretty chill. When you did get to the pads, you got 5 3-minute rounds, which was nice. After that, we would be doing some technique and then a little bit of clenching or sparring. But they didn't really get into sparring at that gym too much. They didn't like the foreigners sparring because most of the foreigners had no skill. On my next video, I'm going to talk about my sparring experience in Thailand and how people saying that Thais don't spar hard, that is an absolute myth. That'll be in my next episode. Make sure you get subscribed so you can catch that one, because that is going to be an eye-opener for you. Yeah, overall, Sinbi was just more sort of do what you want to do. I took some notes about some stuff I learned, just going through. I'll break these down more after. But I very quickly moved over to Fairtex. I figured Fairtex would be the spot to go to get some good hard training. Once again, wrong. In my experience, you're not going to get killer training at Fairtex. This was the one in Bangkok. You would basically warm up on your own, is the notes I had here. Thai pads. You would do 4 to 5 rounds, and they were 4-minute rounds. That's nice, getting a decent amount of time in on the pads. And I don't mind bag work, but it's one of my least favorite things to do. It's just, I'd rather drill, I'd rather hit pads, I'd rather do clench, I'd rather do something with somebody. Because I always figure bag work, I can just do that anywhere in the world on my own. I don't need to travel to Thailand to do a lot of bag work. So overall, Fairtex for me was fairly disappointing. I only stayed at this gym for 3 days. I will get into why I left in the next video, where we're going to be talking about the crazy hard sparring I did there and the, just the lack of hard training aside from the sparring. I just went, this isn't for me. But man, hard sparring. But I very quickly realized that I didn't need to be at this gym because it was all hard sparring, and that was not what I was there for. So I very quickly, after 3 days, moved over to Eminent Air gym. And this was the first gym where things were serious. Foreigners were few and far between there. They actually had a stable of fighters who were competing consistently. So we would start the morning off with an 8 to 10 kilometer run. That's no joke. And it was in a lane. There was about 500 meters, and we would just go back and forward and back and forward and back and forward. And somebody would sit there and watch us, make sure we weren't slacking. Then from there, we would go back and we would clench for 30 minutes. This is the morning session, mind you. But yeah, we would clench for 30 minutes. After that, again, back to the bag work. And then we'd go to that pad work. The pad work at Eminent Air was some of the hardest I've ever done because it was 5 5-minute rounds. Now, maybe not the hardest in terms of cardio, but just lengthwise, that is a whole heck of a lot of rounds. On Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturday mornings, we just did a little light run, and then we did a weight circuit, which in my experience was very rare in Thailand. Not many of the guys did weights. Not many of the gyms gave you a session off from doing Muay Thai or kickboxing, whatever you want to call it. So I thought it was really nice. 3 mornings a week where you could wake up and go, you know what, instead of doing 2 hours to 2.5 hours, I'm only going to be training this morning for about 45 minutes. We went and did a light run, and then we came back and just did this whole routine of just some weights. Each station I wrote down was 30 seconds. We had a chest machine pushing out, we're doing your chest. We had raised bar to chin. We had some curls. We had a tricep bar workout. We had back extensions. We had a bench press. We had step onto a box with a medicine ball and throw a knee. We had sitting on a box with a medicine ball, work on the stomach. We had dumbbell raises above the head, and we had punches with weights. You'd go through each of those for 30 seconds, do that 3 times. Eminent Air was a serious gym. I did enjoy it there. And finally, we move on to Por Pramuk. Definitely the hardest gym that I had to train at when I was there. We would start off with our run. Our run was, I would say, people always say 10 kilometers there. It did not feel like a 50-minute run. I'd say it was more like 8 kilometers. As soon as you got back from that, you would grab the bag and you would do 200 knees. From there, you would go into the ring and you would do 20 to 30 minutes of clench work, followed up with group push-ups. We'd all go in a circle, big circle in the ring. Everybody would count up push-ups. I think I remember us doing something like 150 push-ups. It would be a lot of the ones down at the bottom where you're just doing your push-ups like this. It wasn't full push-ups, but still fairly exhausting. From there, we would do a little bit of light shadow boxing, and then we would wrap our hands. After that, once again, bag work. They just love the bag work over there. I guess you have to when you only have a certain amount of trainers and a lot of fighters. Everybody's waiting for their turn to get on the pads. The pad work there was very unique. It was 1 round, and I wrote down it ranged from 8 to 14 minutes. And there were some hard times. I remember in the middle of a round throwing 50 on one leg, 50 round kicks on one leg, 50 on the other, and then going right back into the round. And then you still have, I don't know, maybe another 6-7 minutes left after the 50 and 50. Somewhere else they'd be like 30 and 30, right back to it. No break in between. It was mean. And then from there, once you finished the Thai pads, you would move into more bag work with lots of push-ups in between in your breaks. They weren't giving you breaks. You would just go bag work. As soon as the bell sounded, you go to push-ups, back to bag work. From there, you would head over to the bag. You would do 50 round kicks per leg with somebody holding the bag, 100 knees, 100 front kicks. You would follow with 30 round kicks pushing the bag, so you would push it and round kick. Set down, push it, and round kick. From there, you were required to get in the ring, do 200 sit-ups. We had chin-ups there, and then we had a little bit of weights. Just light, something small, it wasn't much. At that time, it was already pretty late into the training session. And they had other things that we would do in Thailand. It wasn't just that. We had at Por Pramuk one of the times where we had to run with a tire behind us. But overall, the training in Thailand is very basic. You can get the idea. It's basically get your run in, get your knees in when you get back, following up after that with some light shadow boxing, a long clench session, lots of pad work, a whole heck of a lot of bag work, and then, of course, the sparring. And that is where things got really interesting, because when I went to Thailand, I was under the same impression that you guys probably are, that everything in Thailand in terms of sparring was super chill and relaxed. No, absolutely not. And I am one of the nicest guys you will ever spar, unless you want to bang. If you want to spar hard with me, that's fine. I'm ready for it. But I'm never going to be the one who initiates it. I'm not going to come in and crack you. If somebody comes in, they want a nice chill pace, that's what we're doing. If they come in, they go medium, I go medium. If somebody tries to take my head off, it's a different story. And that is what we're talking about in the next episode. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like. Get subscribed if you haven't already. Train hard, guys. And I will see you guys back here soon for some crazy sparring stories.